Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation and healing, and to link arms and journey with you to find purpose and passion in life. Welcome back to Still with Purpose. Today, we are going to talk about the question, did you know what you say shows the condition of your heart? We have a quote with it. Amanda, what is our quote?
All right. It's not your mouth that gets you in trouble. It's your heart. I would say just being in the humor realm for me, that's a constant. So it's easy for me to look back and see if I have heavy sarcasm coming out, that I obviously have something going on in my heart. And humor is a great way to tell where you're at. So I always have a plumb line of where I'm at in my heart. So I really do appreciate humor that way, because wit is totally different than sarcasm. And if I'm in sarcasm, then I'm definitely struggling with something. And if I'm in sarcasm towards you, it's probably with you. And since that's so loud and abrasive for me now, because I really don't enjoy sarcasm, I stop and think, I'm showing my heart very loudly right now. What's going on for me? And I stop to do an assessment, because I've really gotten away from sarcasm because I've done so much work on myself to not be an angry, bitter woman.
So what's an example of the difference between wit versus sarcasm?
So sarcasm, in my opinion, is unexpressed anger. It's that very cutting edge, biting, rude, demoralizing control, almost jabbing, self-deprecation, which, side note, I always thought self-deprecation was actually self-defecation. That's just a little side note about Amanda, but it pretty much is the same thing, right? But wit, in my opinion, is talent. You have the emotional intelligence and the brain smarts of callbacks in the comedy world, is hearing and listening to everything that the person is saying, to where you can call back on it in humor and create a situation where, for me personally, my humor is such a gift when it's used as a gift, that I can create a space for people to just really let down around really heavy subjects. And then I can say something witty in the scenario that creates them to be completely almost let loose. And they end up sharing a lot of stuff with me. When I was a people pleaser in a savior complex, I would take on their trauma and their stories as I need to fix it. But now I'm coming from a place of, oh, that's a tough scenario that you were in. I'm sorry you went through that. And I hope you really work on that and heal that, so that you're not in sarcasm. Because I do attract people that are sarcastic because they think I like it, because they can figure out I'm funny, but I don't like it. And I immediately change it into something else.
For me, I've gotten in trouble with this in that I've been told, don't be so sensitive. Sometimes it's just people's personality. That's just, they're a sarcastic person, or doesn't mean that they're trying to be disrespectful or rude or dismissive. But I guess I'm to the point now that I'm like, well, I don't enjoy being around it. So I'm okay saying that's just not my cup of tea. And so if it is somebody's personality, then I'm not here to say that it's wrong or they're bad. Me personally, I don't want to be near it. And I almost feel guilty for that, I guess.
That's the people pleaser, though, because you're trying to make people feel comfortable with their shame or anger or pain, which is sarcasm coming out of their heart. So really the question is, what are they angry about? That's the real question. And if I'm in sarcasm, what am I angry about? Or when did I stop speaking life to that person? What switched? It's such an indicator for me to stop and say something's off in this relationship, because I don't ever want to cut someone down. I just really don't go into cutting kind of humor, but I definitely skate on the line. Every time we talk, I'm always Rolodexing all my friends to see what they would say. No, you're really sarcastic. No, you're a big a-hole. It's high accountability to do this podcast, because I don't know who's going to listen to it. So I have to be as authentic as possible right now in this moment, instead of trying to Rolodex everything I've said in my whole lifetime, which is a lot.
Same. I'm sitting here saying that I don't like sarcasm, which is true. I don't like sarcasm when it's one-on-one and somebody being sarcastic to me. But then I know that, especially with work, I can be sarcastic about stuff, the way things are going or situations, or it's a certain meeting that didn't really need to happen. I can sarcastically say, why are we here? And so there
Yeah.
probably people are going to say, well, Christy is sarcastic. What is she talking about? So maybe it just depends on the situation. But I think it's like personal one-to-one. That's where I'm not a fan.
And it's bullying. It's that bulldog kind of personality, and it's a control thing. So if I'm going to be in a room with a bunch of men and just banter with them and go into sarcasm, I can step into the worst of my skill set and be a complete emasculator. And that's not who I want to be. So I definitely pull myself out of situations if they're starting to go that way, because it's not funny to me. I used to go home and that felt horrible. In fact, that's how I met my first husband. We were in a youth group scenario at a party we were both invited to, and we were in a circle having basically a wit off. And it was so funny. We were all dying laughing, but I went home and was like, that was so bad. I cut him on every level. He just could handle it and dish it back. But I went home feeling awful. And I said, we can't ever do that again. I really appreciate that you have a solid wit. And I also didn't feel good when I went home. That's not how I want to treat you as a person. So it's just being aware again. And probably at the time, geez, if I think about at the time where I was at in my healing journey, I was right out of college and I had dealt with the divorce of my mom and stepdad, who I didn't like, and he really made some bad decisions that really affected our family. And then my stepbrother died in a car accident, and I was really angry at men. So when I got out of college, I wasn't really looking for kind, cherishing love. I was looking to get beat up verbally and emotionally. So luckily he wasn't that guy. And still, there's something about being in a relationship with comedians. It's not deep. It stays very surfacey level. And eventually things aren't funny. And when things aren't funny anymore and you aren't laughing anymore because you have real life scenarios going on, that's when it gets really scary.
I'm also thinking about the type of person who shows sarcasm, trying to make it sound like they know more than you. For instance, this person is on social media and I've only seen a few of her reels, but they're always really funny. And it's called corporate something. I'm going to botch this and somebody might want to sue me because I'm not saying it correctly, but let's just say it's like corporate Annie, the one where she acts like the person that just knows more in every situation. And phrases like, oh, you didn't know that? Or, oh, where have you been? And haha, joking. But man, that drives me nuts.
I can't do that at all. And if someone says, I don't know, this is kind of funny to say to you because you just said you do not like when this is said to you, but I don't think any human has ever said, you're taking that too personal, you're too sensitive to me, because they know I have the wit that there's no time for them to say that, because now they're going to be crying.
You'll pop back something.
And the reason it's so important for me to be healed is because I never think before I talk. So if my heart is just filled with hate, greed, envy, jealousy, unforgiveness, my sarcasm is going to be nasty. And the person won't even know what they walked into. And now that I've done so much healing, I'm not saying that in a self-righteous way. It sounds very self-righteous when I state it like that. But now that I've done so much work, I'm so self-aware of my negative personalities that I just stop. I just change the subject and get out of the negative conversation.
You say that you talk faster than you think. For me, that happens more in situations where I don't feel comfortable. I don't know if anyone else does, but speak without stopping as much as maybe I should. And so that's when I'm grateful that my heart's not ugly, because it knows what would come out.
I think that also most people say humor is a deflection on being real and vulnerable. And it's funny, I was just talking to one of my friends about this. I don't use humor as a deflection. I use humor as a beautiful tool to create safety for people. And we laugh through the whole talk of the trauma now. We're laughing and we're crying in the same moment. And it's a beautiful symphony of expression. But I absolutely know. And one of my biggest pet peeves around comedians and humor is when it's such a deflection, they never get real. They just laugh everything off. And when people say that I'm deflecting, that's very insulting to me because I don't take that lightly. I'm not deflecting anything. Let's talk exactly about what you want to talk about. But if you find yourself deflecting with humor all the time to just change the subject, that's something to look at too. If you've ever been given that feedback, it's time to look at that, because what are you covering? What are you trying to skate around? Why are you changing the subject?
Or what's uncomfortable to really face or talk about head on. I think when I was younger, it was like that more. I remember it caught me off guard, but it was a friend of mine, his dad, actually. I ran into him somewhere and then I overheard him say to somebody else, I didn't realize she was that cheeky. And I actually looked up the word cheeky, and I think it meant disrespectfully humorous.
Sass,
And
a little bit of bite to it.
And I did not like being referred to that way.
No.
But I understood why he would have said that too. And that was a wake up call to me to maybe look at that.
I'm more called inappropriate. And that's the other thing. I go into perversion more than anything, or 15-year-old potty humor instead of sarcasm now. And that I found out probably a couple years ago, that I used perversion to stiff arm men and to keep them out of my space. So if I use perversion, then they're so shocked by my mouth, they back away. And it used to be a protection mechanism. It dang well was in high school. And I was called the funniest girl in high school and the class clown, but there was no men in close to me. They were all my friends, but it definitely kept me safe. And when I realized that, I was like, I gotta change that. It's very challenging for me because there's just so many innuendos in everyday talk all day long. So I have to cut myself off of those conversations. And that's part of maturing. And sometimes maturing isn't that great.
Well, I have always taught my girls, you got to think before you speak a lot of the time. I think that's maturity too. You can't just have a thought and let it come right out. If we all did that all the time, it would be a scary place.
I would shudder to think how much damage I've done with what's come out of my mouth when I wasn't healed. I don't think people felt, or possibly still today, don't feel comfortable confronting me on something like that. Really hurt my feelings, because a lot of times it's more they don't feel like fun people, and then I just shine a big bright light on that. You totally aren't fun. But I am. So I don't think they have the guts to bring it to me, because then that makes them feel embarrassed that they were hurt by a joke or whatever. But I would want to know that. I want the plumb line of I'm being a little off.
Because that is hurtful, right? If you feel like you're not a fun person and then somebody really points it out, that's hurtful.
Well, I'm not saying I point it out, but I'm saying my personality just shines a big old light on if you choose to not be fun. I don't know how to help you out of that box. But I've been in situations where my jokes will be taken wrong every single sentence. And then I'm just like, I know our relationship's off because we used to laugh all the time. So why is it all of a sudden nothing is taken right? It's all taken wrong. Then I actually physically don't know how to act. I just shut up. I pull out my personality completely, which is very noticeable. And then I'm usually given feedback that I'm playing a small game or what's wrong with you. And it's just like, dude, I can't shift this. I need your help. You got to shift too, because I don't know how to shift this by myself. So I think the main thing, what I'm saying, which is scriptural, out of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? There's really no taking back what comes out of your mouth. And your mouth can kill and destroy, or it can bring life to people. And when I got serious about that and actually caring how my mouth and heart affected people, that's when I made some big changes. I can still be funny, but when you learn a new tool, you pendulum swing all the way to the right and you're just no fun at all. because you're trying to course correct, and people are like, what happened to her? That happened when I've read Boundaries, all these books that really course corrected me to the right. Eventually you get down to the pendulum swing in the middle again and figure out what's healthy humor, what's healthy wit, what's my gift instead of my counterfeit.
Well, you talked a lot about how I used to drink heavily socially, and I loved having fun and poking fun and jabbing with people back and forth. And I'm sure I said a lot of things that were probably offensive. Maybe people listening today remember or recall them.
Did you want to give a formal apology?
Yes, I would like to give a formal apology for anything my mouth said, especially under the influence of alcohol, because it's also, what is it? Not even truth serum, but your boulder, that liquid courage that is joked about, but you just shoot off at the mouth and you don't have any regard for how it may land on people. And I'm sure I did that countless numbers of times, all in the name of fun and jokes, but sure that there were feelings hurt, and I probably owe many people apologies.
That's what I mean, though. If you have so much negativity in your heart and you add alcohol to it, you are hurting people, because that sarcasm is fierce when you're drunk. And I socially drink. It's pretty rare. I don't have alcohol in my house, really. Sometimes I'll buy a bottle, but I just knew that wasn't a way for me to void out or void fill or numb out, I should say, because of just what I've seen in my own personal life and in marriage and stuff like that. But I do not like an angry, unhealed man speaking to me when he's drunk. That is a trigger for me. And when I see an unhealed man drinking, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. I'm done with the party. But if it's fun and jovial and stuff like that, then I can swing that all day.
Since not drinking, which it is about to be 3 full years for me,
nice.
Actually.
On that.
Thank you. But I don't know. I think sometimes I describe myself as not being quite as fun, but it may be because of exactly what we're talking about. I don't have that sarcastic poke fun spirit anymore, which I'm not sad about. Good riddance to that personality trait. Maybe that part of me going away has added to my thoughts in feeling that way, which I really shouldn't, I don't think. Does that make sense?
I think that it's part of the pendulum swing. So as you're healing and shifting out of qualities you don't want to be anymore, you have to find new ones to replace it. And there is a part of it that's not as fun in your head. But eventually, when you start hearing how much damage you did and feedback, because now people are comfortable giving it to you, then it's like, I actually created a lot of damage with my mouth instead of life. And for me personally, when I started getting feedback that I was very encouraging and helpful and all the things that help someone shift, and we still had humor. I found the happy medium. We're laughing and crying together. And that's awesome. That's what I want to be around. That's fulfilling. That helps me sleep at night. I really try and keep a short record of wrongs. So I am the person that's like, hey, I just wanted to double check and make sure our banter yesterday wasn't the worst and you're reeling about it. I think I read you correctly, but I just want to make sure that you didn't take that as hurtful, or if there was something I said, let's talk about it.
I totally agree with you. Those positive qualities and the positive feelings that I have now, knowing that I can have a sincere conversation and maybe be helpful or encouraging to someone versus the opposite. It's so much better and so much more rewarding than to have a conversation with sarcastic banter back and forth.
So I wrote out a little thing here just about how to quickly tell where are you at, basically a plumb line again. So if your mouth is not coming from a space of joy, peace, patience, kindness, long suffering, then your heart has an issue. And you can quickly say, do I feel joyful? Do I feel loving? That's a quick gauge to see where your humor is going to be. And then you can watch that and watch what comes out of your mouth. Basically, if you're not in a good place, then go deal with it. You go put yourself in timeout in your own room and figure it out. Or the honest truth is, not very many people care about how they're affecting people. So I'm really talking to a very small group of humans that are even wanting to be self-aware and wanting to heal. But if I can shift one person, just like we've always said, is it worth it to give them the information? Absolutely. for me.
Also, I think if you're that person that's wanting to shift and not be hurtful to others, at least in my experience, I have a really hard time then being on the other side of that fence and being the person that feels the hurt. And that's why I determined I don't like being around sarcasm, because I'm aware of how it makes people feel when I do it. And so when I feel it myself, I want far away from it.
Well, and that's being mature, right? Because that's a quality you don't want to step into, and you can step into it. Exactly. You're choosing to take the higher road and not go into the depths of the cesspool of what it could turn into for you. I think that's high accountability, in my opinion, and maturity. But there's times where it's the perfect storm of mostly men in a group, and I can hang with men in the sense of nothing is real scary for me, and I can hold my own. But that's my masculine energy. And since I'm working on really being more in my feminine energy, I'm really starting to be unattracted to those kind of situations anymore. But shooting the crap with the guys is so easy for me.
Well, we've said it a number of times in many episodes. That's the counterfeit of your gift, right? It could be used in a positive or a negative way, but that's still your gift.
Totally.
Or one of your gifts.
So the other thing to think about is if you're in fear and scarcity, that's coming from your heart and it's coming out of your mouth and your actions. If you are in anxiety, that's coming out of your heart and out of your mouth. So those are some other ways to feel out where you're at in your life and then stopping and recalibrating.
I think it's okay too if you do notice that you've said something. People are usually fine with you saying, "Oh, that might have sounded a little harsh. Sorry, probably should have restated that." Not a huge deal. You don't have to drop to your knees and beg forgiveness if you just say something that might sound a little bit sarcastic. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying be aware of it and maybe try to correct it if you can.
Totally. If you talk poorly about yourself and don't keep your word and you're out of integrity, you're blame, shame, and guilt, that will come out of your mouth. Wherever your heart is at will come out of your mouth. So this goes into you are teaching people exactly how to treat you. If you don't like how you're being treated, that is an inside job of how you are showing up in the world. The attitude of this is how I am, that's my least favorite. Deal with it. This is me and deal with it. I saw a meme a while ago. It was mostly like, how about you heal yourself so that I can stay in this relationship instead of this is how I am, because I'm at choice to move out of that relationship. And you get to be right that no one sticks around because this is how you are.
That's exactly right. And you know what? When there's a pattern involved with one person in particular, you've had this same conversation several times, and the response maybe is, I'd had a bad day, or I didn't really mean it, and that was a total joke. But after so many times, no, really, your heart is just coming out of your mouth all the time. Really, that's just what's in your heart.
Your heart is showing.
It's hard to argue after a pattern of it.
Well, love isn't in your heart because everyone knows what love feels like. So if something else besides love is coming out of your mouth, then obviously there's a problem between us. Or if you had a bad day, why am I your verbal punching bag? Don't even come into my space until you've dealt with whatever. Because a lot of times it might not even be me. I'm just a safe place for you to let loose. I don't want to be that person for you.
Yeah, agreed.
But everyone in general is figuring out their boundaries at all times. And how far can I push this person to get what I want and need? So if your heart's nasty and you're in a manipulative stance, then you are using your words to get what you want. You're in a manipulative stance. You would never treat the ones that you view as healthy self-esteem with manipulation and control. So you're teaching people how to treat you. They're teaching you how to treat them. This is a total respect thing.
And boundaries. We've talked a lot about boundaries, but it really is setting up the boundary of here's what I expect.
When you have a nasty heart and low self-esteem because you feel bad and you have shame around how you've treated people when you go to your pillow at night. When you don't have self-esteem, you're telling me loudly how to treat you and that I probably could manipulate you to do what I want.
Saying don't dish it out if you can't take it. Somebody with low self-esteem who is giving sarcasm left left and right or making fun of other people, that's telling me they're free game. They're open to get it right back to them. But
Right.
that's the same person who probably would take it very hard, very personally too, and be very hurt about it.
Yes, and they get meaner. When I see an insecure, sarcastic man, that is the enemy's mouth talking to me. They're just so nasty. And I remove myself immediately. I could go in and banter and put you in your place, but why would I want to spend my time doing that anymore? That's not who I am. I'm not angry at men. I used to be, though.
I think everything you just said was hitting home to me. The insecure person is going to be the nastiest.
Oh man, I have a lot of people going through my Rolodex right now that I can say, geez, just stop. You almost want to stop and hold their face and go, who hurt you? Because it wasn't me. So want to talk about it? What happened at home? What's going on at home? Because the stuff coming out of your mouth tells me your heart is very hurting.
On the flip side, I can also think of a lot of people that have a warm heart, and I always feel and hear that coming out too. So we talked a lot about what's coming out of your mouth if you have a nasty heart. But on the flip side, there are a lot of people who have a genuine, caring, loving heart and always smile on their face. And I'm not saying that you always have to have a smile on your face, but you can just feel that genuine love. And so that comes out of your mouth just as easily as darkness.
That's why we can tell when you're off, because we know what love looks like. That's why there's the accountability of once you get self-esteem and boundaries, you pretty much tell people how to treat you, and that's not going to fly anymore. And the crap isn't going to fly anymore. The soft, tender, loving hearted people are going to be attracted when they weren't attracted to me years ago. I was just terrifying to a tender hearted soul. It's going to come out of her mouth now. And I haven't heard that in quite a while. And that's feedback too, is I haven't heard, are you angry at men, for a very long time. And that's good news. That means I've made some shifts.
I haven't heard in a very long time that I'm cheeky. And I'm sure the people that I'm thinking of that I always know are so genuinely warm and caring and loving would not go along with my cheeky old self at all.
Totally. Read a room. Reading a room is the number one skill in my opinion.
Agreed. I think you and I said that to each other multiple times when we were on that plane when we first met.
Yeah, read the room, woman. Which is so funny because I just got back from a trip and this podcast won't show up live for a while, but I was that person totally on the plane. For 4 straight hours and laughing, asking deep, inappropriate, heavy conversation. And we just had a blast. But I thought about our first podcast going, I'm that girl. I'm such a hypocrite.
How the tables turn.
Yep. There's always an opportunity to be a hypocrite. Do we have some questions that we want to have them reflect on this week?
We do have some reflection questions for this week. And if you are watching this on video, you can see them in front of you. Maybe take a screenshot if that would be helpful. First, when did you stop speaking life to the person that you have a strained relationship with? When did you stop speaking it to yourself? What are you resentful about? And do you know sarcasm is unexpressed anger? And anger is just fear. So what are you afraid of?
Well, that sounds like a good week of journaling, and we'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about. And please come on our Facebook group. We're trying to get that rocking and rolling, and we'd love to get to know you on a deeper level.
Yes, and hopefully everyone has a great week until we talk next time.
Have a good one. Thanks for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we hope you have a phenomenal week.
Until our next episode, find more content and social links at stillwithpurpose.com.